Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm
Chris.
I'm Jay. We've only been doing this 200 times.
The 201. And
Nobody gives a fuck about that number.
but luckily, we have a guest that everyone should give a fuck about. It's Farel Dalrymple talking about his next two books, It Will All Hurt and Proxima Centauri, both out on June 13th. But you know what? Let's let him talk about it. And coming back for his second appearance, we have Farel Dalrymple. He's actually got kind of a bit of a twofer this time around. He's got the first issue of Proxima Centauri, his 6-issue miniseries, out on June 13th, along with the print collection for It Will All Hurt, kind of set in the same universe as his critically acclaimed series, The Wrenchies. But yes, it's Farel Dalrymple. He's back. Farel, thanks for coming back on the show, man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
So with both of these books, you know, we had talked to you about Pop Gun War about this time last year and how that kind of explores the ennui and the existentialism of being in the big city and the suburbs. With both of these books, you're taking things cosmic. Stars are the limit. You're going full on psychedelia. What made you wanted to kind of embrace existentialism within the cosmos?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I did both those books for different reasons, I guess. Or I guess I'm kind of currently doing the Proxima Centauri, but It Will All Hurt. I made that pretty much while I was working on the Wrenchies, or at least like the tail end of the Wrenchies. And I was doing it basically as like a stream of consciousness kind of exercise, like just a way to kind of blow off steam and tell sort of like an immediate comic story that I didn't have to stress out about, having everything look perfect. Or I mean, I didn't pencil any of that first, so it was just all like straight to pen, and then I would watercolor it and then put it on the internet. And that was like, I think I started it in like 2013 or 14 or something like that. And then Study Group Comics put out like issues of it, like 3 different issues of it. And I think those all came out in around like 2015 or something. But the Proxima Centauri is also kind of like in the same world as, well, not kind of, it is in the same world as the Wrenchies, because it has like one character from it. And so it's like at least one character from it. It has more than this, but like the main guy from the Wrenchies is also the main guy in Proxima Centauri. But it's like a certain point in his life when he's like a teenager and he's on this like space station place, this big like sphere that's like far away from Earth, and it's like this like weird dimensional magical place that he just lives for a while as like a teenager. So I guess it was just sort of like a timing thing. It just seemed like, oh, okay, this is like a good time for Image to put out the It Will Hurt collection, and I'm also doing this new book that is kind of in the same that is in the same world as the Wrenchies. So I don't know. It was just like a timing deal. It wasn't like I was like, I'm gonna be a cosmic guy or anything. But I mean, all my stuff's kind of similar, and then it's like kind of like whimsical fantasy kind of stuff with like, I guess, a little bit of like neurotic dark edge to it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I remember, there's always kind of that existentialism, it's existentialism by way of like magical realism. So seeing the kind of the shift into a more science fiction realm, which again, like you were mentioning with the Wrenchies and this book, they both have Sherwood from that previous book. So you've kind of got those threads going through. But yeah, that was always kind of the juxtaposition that I found intriguing, about your work. And I remember the last time you were on, we had talked about how the Chocolate War was a big influence on you as a storyteller. I'm trying to remember if it was more so the book or the film, because those are two very different things. A lot more Peter Gabriel in the film, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, I think I saw the movie first and was, like really taken by it. And then I read the book, I think because I liked the movie so much. Or I might have actually listened to the audiobook of that. I would at the time, I think I was going to the library a lot and getting like books on tape, like put in tapes or CDs or some, different classic literature and stuff. So I think I got that then because I was like, oh, I like that movie a lot. And yeah, I like listened to the audio and was like, oh, that was great. And I think I read the sequel to it, and I Am the Cheese, which is also another good movie. It was like adapted of his. But I noticed that both of those, the book was kind of similar, yeah, except for like the new wave music and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the ending of I Am the Cheese and Chocolate War were like super brutal in the books, and then both movie versions were like kind of happy ending, sort of. Noticed that was like the big difference.
Yeah, like spoilers for like a 30-year-old film, but like it's not or I guess for a 30-year-old book, but it's not a happy ending in the book at all.
Yeah, and the movie version is kind of dark too, but like it's still like a Hollywood version of that story, I think.
Mm-hmm. So, doing both of these books, first off, there is a lot of, and I don't know how much you want to, I won't necessarily go into detail, but there is the kind of a recurring element I noticed more so with It Will All Hurt, a lot of eye imagery, a lot of damage to eyeballs across this story. Was that just kind of like the idea that the eye is kind of the window into the soul? Also, like the kind of the use of colored flame, almost like a purging. Again, it kind of touches on the magical realism element, but there's kind of like that purging effect that we see from the beginning. I guess linked to even that first figure has both the kind of the one eye thing going on and ends up getting kind of cremated, I suppose. But are those kind of, there's very, like you were saying, this kind of very stream of consciousness to it. There's that kind of sensibility, but what was the idea behind having those kind of recurring visuals?
Well, I think that was at the time I did It Will Hurt. It was like, that was kind of like a thing in the Wrenchies. Like I kept having these sequences where, the viewer panels or camera or whatever would sort of like go into someone's eyeball and or come out of someone's eyeball, and it would like be another thing, like a little sphere or circle or some other kind of spherical thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly why I did that other than I thought it seemed kind of cool at the time. I mean, that was a long time ago when I did both those books. I mean, it wasn't super long time ago in the span of my whole life, but I mean, it was like 2014 or something like that, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think that with at least with It Will Hurt, there's a lot of like metaphysical stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So it's probably just like an easy, like you said, like the eyes are the window to the soul kind of thing, It's like, I think there's even like a scene in the kind of towards the end, spoilers, where like the bad wizard guy has like, he actually gets stabbed in the eye and then like grows like a new eye, and then it's like someone comes out of the eye or something. I don't know. I was just like looking at, these pages recently, getting it prepped for print. You'd think I would have some kind of more of an insight on the eye thing. I don't know. Like It Will Hurt was just it was all stream of consciousness. It was just like, I was just basically just responding to, I was getting really frustrated working on the Wrenchies because I kept wanting to add stuff to it. Mm-hmm. So with It Will Hurt, it was just like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and draw a chase scene, or like, I'm just going to make up this character and see what happens to him. And so each panel was just like, I would be kind of thinking about, okay, what's going to happen in the next panel as I was drawing the panel. I saw this like, there's like famous Mobius story, that he did where I guess he did this a lot too, but there's one in particular I'm thinking of where he just would I guess like an exercise, just draw it with pen without penciling it or anything, just kind of going straight and just making up the story as it went along. And that was, I just was like, oh, I want to try doing that. But yeah, it was just me like kind of, okay, I just want to do a comic story and not think about it. So like all that stuff with the eyeballs and shooting blasts at each other and turning into animals and stuff like that. It's not like I had any kind of, I wasn't, it was not too deep or anything. I was just kind of towards the end, I was just thinking about how I wanted to kind of tie it all together and have it be kind of like a cohesive story. But a lot of it was just like, hey, here's this guy and he's like jumping around on like mushrooms or something. I don't know.
I think I had remember, it must have been like 3 or 4 years ago now, where you mentioned that there was quite a bit of material that you had kind of conceived for the Wrenchies, like that first run, that didn't quite make, didn't quite fit the story. So was that kind of a conscious attempt with It Will All Hurt, to kind of just take those disparate elements and be like, you know what? This is where this is where it can all play. This is the kind of the sandbox where this can all exist.
No, it was more of just me, like I would, especially towards the end of the Wrenchies, I was trying to fit all that stuff in there. It was like getting fresh, like, oh, okay, I have to edit a lot of this stuff out or whatever. But it was more about me wanting to be excited and not feel like it was like a job that I was doing, it's just like there's all this pressure on me to finish this book. Mm-hmm. And it was just like I want to like making comics. And it's like I want to draw a chase scene, like I'll just draw a chase scene. And so it was just I had this like system for it, doing it, of like, okay, well, I have to wake up every day and work on my book in order to get it done in time. I have to do this amount of stuff. But kind of like at the end of the day or something, I'd like want to watch Star Trek or whatever. And so I'd just be like, okay, I have all this, like, I would cut all the paper out to a certain, point that I wanted, and have just kind of like okay, I'm just going to do 2 panels per piece of paper. And it was like, I would draw those as I was like, watching a stupid TV show or something at the end of my night. And I would do that throughout the week. And then like on the last day of the, like Thursday or Friday or something, I would color all of them and then scan them and send, and so I'd have like about 6 panels done a week basically. And it was just like, it wasn't as much I was trying to put stuff that I'd already had, like, okay, this is the idea for the Wrenchies, I want to have Sherwood this happening or whatever. It was more of like, oh, I just want to do like have like 2 people fighting. Like I want to have like a karate fight or something, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just like, okay. And I thought like, okay, I could put it all in this weird world that's sort of like the post-apocalyptic fantasy magic world that the Wrenchies live in. Mm-hmm. And then that means I could pretty much do whatever I wanted. And I could have like a guy showing up in a group with like a thing growing out of his head, and he like kick someone, and it was just sort of like that was basically it. I wasn't necessarily trying to put stuff like, oh, I have this idea, these great ideas. It was just more of like, oh, it's just like I want to have fun doing a comic, and I want to have it, be like weird and mysterious and all that kind of stuff. But it was just the thing I'm doing now, Proxima Centauri, is more like what you were saying. It's more like I'm trying to put a bunch of stuff in mm-hmm. that I had, like as notes, and in these, I have a couple little folders that have gotten smaller in recent times, but I have a bunch. Okay, I have all these precious ideas that I want to put in this thing I'm doing now, because I've been thinking about this for so many years. But what I'm finding out as I'm working on the story is that I'm still just throwing out a lot of that stuff. It's just like, I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense to me, or it doesn't really make sense to the story. And so I'm like, a lot of this I'm just kind of making up as I go as well.
So with both of these stories, I mean, that means through that kind of creative liberation, you've essentially turned comic book storytelling into like freeform jazz.
Don't ever say that.
Okay.
I think what's his Tony Cypress has that copyrighted. Punk rock jazz.
Punk rock jazz. All right, fair enough. That was me. Like I was like when I came up with that analogy in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking blow people away with this, but I will refrain from using that one. Just because you invoke Star Trek,
I'm like the scat master of comics.
Right on.
I don't know what,
but I mean, since you invoke Star Trek, I just feel I feel obliged to ask. We've been known to tangent on this show all the time. Are you more Team Kirk or Team Picard?
I guess Picard. Although I remember when Next Generation started, I didn't like him. Like I was like, oh man, Riker, he's the cool guy. You know, Picard's like this, you know, kind of wussy French guy or something. I don't know. But I think, you know, growing up and spending years and seeing like what a great, spending years with him, like the actor, I don't know, Patrick Stewart or anything, but like seeing him in like Dune and all this other cool stuff that I liked. I don't know. I just like, you know, and I think I've rewatched all of Next Generation more than I've seen the original series now at this point. And, you know, I grew to appreciate him. I feel like he's like, you know, it's like more a mature person's ideal, you know, like utopian society you know, he's like more of like an enlightened person, I guess, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's, there's like a comfort food element for me with Next Generation because, I mean, that show came out in what, like it started in 87, goes off the air in like 94 or whatever. So whenever I watch that, it just kind of brings me right back to watching those episodes like on UPN or whatever. So, which I wasn't alive for the original series, so I missed out on all that.
Yeah, I wasn't either when it first ran, but I remember that was like, it was a really big deal to me when Next Generation was coming out, when it first started coming out. Mm-hmm. But I was like at this time in my life, I mean, I was like a teenager. So by the time it was in its like 7th season or whatever, I'd already lost interest. I wasn't even, you know, I'd maybe catch an episode every now and then. I'm like, Wesley's like a traveler now or something, you know, like it wasn't important to me until I would say even like years later, you know, like in my like late 20s or something and 30s when I was like, oh man, Star Trek rules. Like I love this. I was just, you know, catching on to like reruns like UPN or whatever. And it's just like, this is the best show ever.
You had mentioned the evil priest at the end of It Will All Hurt. He's kind of, you know, the evil priests or just priests in general, they're kind of monastic figures. You kind of get the priest thing going on with Pop Gun War. And, you know, to tie it back to Chocolate War a bit, you know, obviously that takes place like in a private boys' school. Is there something about those kind of like authority figures, kind of like almost extensions of the clergy that you find as like intriguing, kind of like these authoritarian kind of, you know, characters across your stories?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but yeah, that something about that has interested me ever since I was like a little kid. Like I remember watching like Tom Brown's School Days. It was like on this certain channel on cable. Like it was, I don't know, like there was this like weird station I remember as a little kid that would play like The Little Princess and that movie, Tom Brown's School Days, and like a couple other just random movies. And even like The Little Princess has that kind of weird aspect too of like someone being like oppressed or bullied at like a boarding school. Mm-hmm. I mean, even like Harry Potter and stuff was like really exciting to me when that, you know, I was like a grown up when that came out. But like I just like, oh, this has all like the fun, you know, it's like this cool idea of like, you know, you're like part of the secret society, you're like a wizard, but you're still kind of within that, you know, thing. You're still kind of a, you know, bullied or oppressed or something by like the man or like, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is weird. I don't know what where exactly that is, but yeah, that does seem like a something that is interesting to me, like a recurring theme in my work.
Well, with the priest in Popgun War, almost feels like straight out of Dostoevsky, right?
Oh yeah, well that definitely is. That was like directly from like there's like a Rasputin type character in the beginning of Bros Karamazov that I modeled that guy after. Yeah, and even I remember like reading like Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man when I was like in college, and that kind of has that sort of similar thing. And yeah, there was this movie, I was just talking about this movie the other day with some friends, where it was Heaven Help Us. Like that was on HBO a lot when I was a little kid, and I just like watched that movie so many times. Like Kevin Dillon and like Andrew McCarthy and all these like 80s teen guys at like a Catholic school. In it wasn't like a boarding school, but it was like, you know, you had to wear uniforms and stuff, and it was like, you know, like the mean, you know, guy that was like the mean teacher that would like kind of beat the kids, and there was like the cool teacher that, you know, I don't know.
Did you ever
yeah,
see?
I mean, it was just like inundated with that kind of stuff growing up, so it just kind of became part of like the way I tell stories too.
Well, I was curious if you ever saw this movie. We used to talk about it all the time when it came out, called Sing Street. It was I think it came out in, was it 2016?
I think it was 16 at this point.
Yeah, about like this kid. Parents are like, I guess they got to go. I guess they move, or they're
in the middle of a divorce in 1985 Dublin.
And he goes to like a boarding school or a Catholic school, and he's like a super shy kid, and it's just all those kind of tropes are in there. Like the headmaster guy is just this huge dick.
And meanwhile, the kid's like getting into like new wave or new romantic stuff, like listening to a lot of The Cure and Duran Duran.
Yeah, and his like older brother's helping him find like kind of his musical taste or whatever, and he decides to form a band to like impress a girl, and like the whole thing is, it's like very 80s coming of age, but like it flew so under the radar when it came out, and it was like, it's still like one of my favorite movies just in recent years. Just like there hasn't been that many movies I've seen since 2016. I know it's only 2 years, but that like I loved as much as that movie. I think it was, I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but if you're into that kind of like setting and that kind of
those tropes,
yeah, it's really just a wonderful film. It's a great soundtrack too. So
It's called Sing Street.
yeah, Sing Street.
Check that out. Yeah, I wonder if, I think that I don't know, just talking about this, and it seems kind of like a given, I guess, an obvious thing to me, but it probably comes out of like having all this like religious stuff in it in my work. Just because I was raised super religious, and I went to like, you know, like they weren't like fancy, but they were like church schools, you know, like
yeah.
Oh, the church that I'm going to also has a school, you know, which probably wasn't even, they probably weren't even like accredited or anything, but like when I say like I went to like private school, it sounds like I was like a rich kid or something, and we weren't, you know. I mean, we had cable. I mentioned that already, but
that was a big deal
like,
growing up.
Yeah, there's just like a single mom kind of thing. So I think it was like, you know, she was like, you know, raised us real religious. She's like a real religious person. So I think it was more of like, oh, I want to like, I feel guilty that I'm not around to raise my kids because I have to, you know, go to this office job or whatever. So here, like, be entertained by television, and, you know, I'll send you to this church school. Well, they'll probably help raise you like a good Christian person, you know, and you won't be in like a bad public school, you know, where the devil will try to ruin your life or something, you know.
Well, I feel like the stuff that from like early childhood is like totemic to us for like the rest of our lives in a weird way. Those tropes keep coming back, and it's just kind of the familiar. There's a familiarity to it, like growing up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah, totally.
Now, with you mentioned we see Sherwood at a different point of his life in Proxima Centauri. Are you going to play around with time a bit, or are we going to kind of fill in the gaps with his character?
I mean, there's a little bit of like playing around with time. Like it's pretty much like the same sort of like 3-year period that he's on, you know, this time in his life. But I kind of jump around a little bit, you know, like the series just opens up with him having been, on board this thing and, for a while, like a few months, and he already has all his friends and like knows, has like a mission he's doing and stuff. So it's like, it kind of just goes right into it. And then there's like a little bit of exposition, and then like I have some like little flashback things like, oh, the first time I met these people, and, but it's not like 100% linear, and that he's like, oh, okay, I'm showing him go into the space station, and then, the whole adventure, and then at the end of the series he leaves. It's like kind of the way I do most of my stuff is, I don't like stick to one sequence. I like to kind of move around a lot, and even within the series, there's a few times where I just go away completely from Sherwood and just focus on some different characters that might not even have any interactions with him at all.
So it's still kind of, yeah.
What's that?
Well, so it still kind of maintains that like vignette structure almost.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, he's definitely like the main arc of the story is about him, and I'm hopefully like, the reader will and some like growth and change in this character. But it's like I'm kind of trying to channel all like the my most like self-loathing, like teenage psyche into this character. Like I want him to be likable and like, people to kind of be rooting for him, but like it's like I wanted to also sort of, bring across this like, oh, he's like an obnoxious teenager that sort of like takes everything, for granted, and, maybe is like a little privileged and doesn't realize it and stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Which I guess
I don't know if that's good, if it works, but I mean, that's what I'm shooting for anyway.
We, again, to bring up Popcorn War, we kind of see that with the protagonist there too. Like he's clearly, he's clearly the good guy, but there are like everybody in like real life, there are like selfish or ignorant moments that they kind of go through where people get hurt.
Yeah, we're all human beings. Nobody's perfect.
Now, Farel, I don't know if you remember, but something we ask everybody that comes on the show: what are you currently geeking out over?
I really like the HBO shows Silicon Valley and Barry, and they both come out Sunday nights. Both really good.
I hear good.
I don't know if you watch either one of those, but
I've seen Silicon Valley. I have, and I'm a big Hader fan. Clearly not enough to like watch Barry.
No, I need to check that out too, because I've heard nothing but good things about that show.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah, I just watch a lot of TV, I guess, like watching the new Westworld, and there's like Counterpart was really good. I thought the J.K. Simmons TV show.
Do you tend to have the TV on in the background while you write and draw?
Not so much. Like I'm not very productive if I'm watching TV, so I try to make myself keep it for like later at night kind of deal. It's like you can't stay up too late. Yeah. So yeah, I usually when I'm working, if it's writing, penciling, I like to have music. But if I'm inking and coloring, it's like a podcast kind of situation or like an audiobook, something like that.
So, Farel, before we turn you back to the wilds of Portland, is there anything anything else you'd like to plug? Again, both Proxima Centauri out on June 13th, along with It Will All Hurt. Is there anything else you'd like to promote while we got you on?
Well, I'm going to be doing some shows this year. I'm going to, I think the next one's Van Calf, which is in a couple. I don't even know if the show will be aired before then, but I'm going to that show Van Calf. It's in Vancouver, BC, and I think I'm doing some other shows, but I'm kind of blanking on it. Oh yeah, I'm Boise Library Comic Con in like August or something like that.
Are you doing Heroes in June?
No, I wish I could do Heroes, but it's on the other side of the country, and I hate flying,
Hmm.
and it's just it's just kind of brutal for me to travel that far.
Sure.
If I'm being like flown out as like a guest or something, that'd be one thing, but like on my own dime too, it's tough to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you doing San Diego in July?
That far away?
Yeah. Are you doing like?
I'm doing a show in Orange County. It's the Chris Hardwick show, the ID10T. I think they're doing it in like Orange County this year, but yeah, that should be fun.
Oh, there you have it. And again, Proxima Centauri debuts on Wednesday, June 13th, in comic book stores everywhere and on Comixology, along with the Eisner nominated It Will All Hurt. Farel, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Always a lovely time.
Always
a lovely time.
Yeah. I helped with one of his signings at one of the
in Seattle
shows. Yeah, super nice guy, man.
Yeah,
just a really nice guy.
Yeah,
and a freaking super talented artist too.
And the watercolor.
Oh, that's
gorgeous.
So
you boys get into anything?
Well, the three of us did something as a group, didn't? Or no, Jake. abandoned us.
I didn't even go with my brother and sister. I wanted to go by myself. So fuck you guys. I don't even have a brother and sister. So fuck you guys.
Man, those actors you hired to play your brother and sister on social media,
very committed.
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time now. Yeah, we saw Infinity War. Bye.
All right, well, and that's it.
Yeah.
You all have seen it by now, right?
I mean, it made
to the audience, not
yeah.
Made a lot of money.
Did by the time this thing posts over $1 billion.
Jesus Christ!
I think by like tomorrow over $1 billion.
Yeah, Saturday at the latest is what the projections have, which means it'll.
China hasn't even opened yet, right? Or is it
May
opening
11th
this week? Okay.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so another week from this post or from this recording.
It will be the fastest film to gross $1 billion. The previous record holder being The Force Awakens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's good.
Yeah, I guess we'll just say spoiler just in case, whatever.
Yeah. If it goes,
I mean, yeah.
China, stop listening.
Yeah, but
they already have, judging by our numbers. Actually, Japan's our biggest market in Asia.
Nice.
Always interesting to me.
But no, I mean, well, it's funny because I haven't talked to Chris about it. And Sam and we didn't talk about it for a while either.
We didn't talk for a while. Period.
Yeah, that's why.
Because you abandoned.
That's right. How was the pre-show? That's the one thing I missed the most. I missed the pre-show.
It was pretty good. Most of it, or I'd say about half of it was, here's a recap of what's happened, so far in the MCU, which was really nice because although I have seen all of those movies, it's been a while, especially for some of them. So like getting a nice, they gave like a minute or two per movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Even then, it's like that's like a 18-minute recap,
And they split it up into phases too, so it didn't get dull. And then in between it, your normal like, oh, here's some superhero, related, stupid videos from YouTube
Thanos
and stuff. I'm sure they're
not as much as you would think, but I mean,
because Thanos outside of the comics, I can't think of any other time really. Thanos has been around. But lots of a whole bunch of like such and such said that Marvel's Infinity War was the most ambitious crossover ever, but we think, and then insert whatever.
Sure.
It was like Rugrats meet the Wild Thornberries, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers, shit like that.
When does that happen? What was that? Because I don't know what that was.
You'd have to properly ask Ken, but
yeah.
It was definitely relatively late in their run. Like, do you know about when they did like all the Red Rangers crossover thing?
I was like 95-ish, 6-ish.
No, because that's like when Power Rangers started, was like early 90s, right?
Power Rangers started in
95 is
early
90s.
Well, no, but like I remember like,
but 95 is when the Power Rangers started.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be like 99.
Yeah, I'd say around 2000-ish. That's I'm pretty sure that happened around the same time because they were doing crossover things.
Please still watch us.
Yeah. Sorry, we're not a Power Rangers podcast. But yes,
that's cool. Well, the nice thing was too is like majority of the movies you needed to really be aware of were recent movies. Like, in all honesty, like as much as like I was, just kind of running through. Like, if you didn't see Iron Man before this, not a big deal. If you didn't see Incredible Hulk before this, not a big deal. If you didn't see,
to be fair, that's never been a big deal to the MCU.
Burn.
But an accurate one.
But I mean, like if you saw the Avengers, that pretty much took care of Phase 1. You didn't need to have seen all those movies.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously Thor Ragnarok, Civil War,
Black Panther.
Yeah, Black Panther. Yeah.
Strange to a lesser degree.
Doctor Strange, surprisingly, like there was a lot of Doctor Strange in there, which like I was telling Sam, like he was my favorite hero of the group. I thought the Steen Stealer, bad motherfucker, Steen Stealer, was Thanos. The performance, I thought, freaking unreal.
This has been something that was pointed out by some of my coworkers because we all saw it, opening weekend, and we all talked about it. Nice thing about this movie being, a big team up movie like that is that all the protagonists are all established, so you don't really need to do a whole lot of, I am Captain America. I stand for truth, justice, and the American way. I know that's Superman. Calm down.
What? There goes the rest of our Chinese listeners.
Right? Because they care about the American way. But they might. I don't know. Love you, China. So you didn't need to do a whole lot of that. So the focal point of the movie got to be Thanos' story, which is something that you don't get to that extent very often. Like a movie that focuses around the antagonist to that degree. To the point where there were some times where the protagonists were just there to be a driving force for his mission.
This is Marvel's Batman 89.
Yeah, exactly. And
aren't they all Batman 89?
They're all Batman 89.
And it was great. Another one of my coworkers was going through like the negative reviews because he wanted to have a laugh, and one that stuck out really strong to me was, I hated that this movie was all just about gathering up the Infinity Stones. Like I don't care about the Infinity Stones. Like it's called Infinity War.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. They've had 18 movies to develop everybody.
Yeah. The only person really that hasn't been developed that much on in that cast is Thanos. So it makes sense that it would be a Thanosian movie.
I was at an event with the Russo brothers last night.
Oh.
Yeah.
Picked up that name for you.
Yeah. And
I would name drop the shit out of that if I were there too. So.
Yeah. The
Your dick fell off?
My dick fell off. It's detachable. Detachable.
Oh, I'm the weird one.
There's a song about that.
There is. Is it Marilyn Manson?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so penises aside, or maybe penises included.
Well, yours is detachable, so you could put it aside.
Yes.
Anyway, the Russos.
The Russos were like, we intentionally gave Thor the hallmarks of the traditional hero's journey, the emotional connection, the motivations, the forging a weapon to kill Thanos, making the heroic entrance on Wakanda, to give you the misdirect that he was going to be the one to stop him. But if you look at the film, all the major moments are from Thanos' perspective. The real hero's journey is for him.
Which, by the way, that fake out was just beautiful.
For the head.
Yeah, there were so many as Jake likes to say, there were so many like bold movements. There were a lot of times where they would be bold.
That's my bold.
He did the muscle arm thing. Yeah. For those of you listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Wait, you guys can't see us?
But so there were a lot of like. It felt like there were a lot of misdirects like that. Like Thor coming in, Vision, or rather more specifically Scarlet Witch destroying the
it's such
Life
a
Stone?
heartbreaking
Or
Mind. Yeah,
Mind Stone.
Such a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, like you're sitting there and they drag it on and like to a beautiful, heart-wrenching degree, because I want to say like it was like 5 minutes of her just yeah, and like finally he dies and just like and then Thanos just like saunters over and is like, oh no, you remember I have a time stone.
Yeah.
Hold, didn't you see Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
Like that was the climax. Here,
that one negative reviewer on Rotten Tomatoes didn't apparently. Yeah. Oh, they're getting all the Infinity Stones. Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a minor inconvenience for him.
Yeah. What? A movie that's supposed to be a two-parter about Thanos getting all the Infinity Stones and then like the heroes having to fight against him. The first part is all about him getting the Infinity Stones and then has a tragic ending to set up the fact that the heroes have to fight against him. What?
It's Deathly Hallows Part 1, man. But what would you say was the most what do you think garnered the biggest audience reaction?
Tony Stark calling the one dude Squidward.
Yeah. That was a laugh. A laugh was had. For the only time I got emotional the entire movie, which is not to say that like I was expecting to be emotional the entire movie, but was Cap showing up for some. I'm not gonna say for some reason, but like I knew that was coming. Like I see it coming from a mile away. Yeah. But again, you didn't know the stakes of everything. Whatever
could have been a misdirect.
And so yeah.
I mean, the Hulk is the Hulk is in the trailer in Wakanda.
The Russos. Let me pick that one up again. Well, yeah, I know.
It's just covered in butter.
Butterfingers. This one, me. The Russos were like, at a certain point, we have to assume that the audiences are used to the Hulk showing up at the last minute to save the day. The predictable thing is he busts out of the Hulkbuster armor to fight Thanos. Get round 2.
How ironic. The Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster.
Though, as we all, us intellectuals know,
me, an intellectual.
Yeah, as we all know now, that doesn't, like, they were like, so that's why we didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to kind of empower Bruce Banner, force him to step up, like, as himself, and we deliberately added him into the trailers, like Hulk into the trailers, to stay ahead of the audience.
Like Yondu. I've been messing up his name all... Yondu?
Yondu.
I don't know why I've been messing up his name all weekend. Anyway.
Because you're stupid.
Me, an intellectual, doesn't know how to pronounce... Yondar.
You know who doesn't know how to fucking pronounce it and he's in the fucking movie? Stallone.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like, rewatch Guardians 2 for some reason. And, like, every time Stallone says it, he goes, like, it's Yondu, right? And he's just like, Yondu. And I feel like James Gunn was like, maybe, fuck it. Just let him.
You're Stallone. That's fine.
He's like, what?
But Yondu.
What'd you say?
But James Gunn released promotional shots of him in the scene on Titan in Avengers just to misdirect or mislead the audience into not figuring out that he dies in Guardians 2.
Well, another big one that I noticed was when Cap and Thanos are trying to do that awkward hug. His Infinity Gauntlet in the trailer only has 2 gems, and obviously he has almost all.
Or there's that awesome scene where he puts the gem on the stone. It's totally like a different stone in the trailer, and he has like twice, just like that scene. Like there's twice. I love the idea that they are fucking with us in the marketing. I mean, everyone knows I like going into movies with as little details as possible, or as few details as possible.
Yes.
So getting like the misdirects like that make me ever so happy.
Spidey's, you know what? I got a big audience reaction was the Spidey legs.
Yeah.
And the Iron Spider, because they didn't show that in the trailer.
Next to Ken, he almost shit his pants.
I bet, man. Jesus.
One of the few people that dressed up for it.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're just surprised Ken was in his Spider-Man suit. Friend of the show.
Laserdick
Ken.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
I will say for me, the most emotional part of the movie, late in the game, when when good old Petey Parker, Spider-Man, realizes that he's starting to fade out of existence, and he's like, Mr. Stark, I feel weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you don't.
Well, yeah, someone, when he said that, someone yelled no in the theater.
Yeah.
And then there was a group of kids sitting next to me. And originally I was like, oh, no. Like, they're going to be, like, shouting, I'm an old man. Oh. And then they were actually really good the whole movie. But they would whisper, like, a couple lines that they knew were coming, which was kind of funny. Like, it didn't really...
Give that man his shield.
Yeah, he totally 100% did that. But when, as you'll... talk about what happens with Spider-Man, when he dies, kid 2 row down just burst into tears. Yeah. And he was still like, at first I thought he was like joking, like trying to be like funny with his friends, like, oh, but like he was still sniffling during the credits. I was like, damn, this kid, Jesus. That's intense,
People were pretty gobsmacked, I think, at our showing at that ending.
Yeah. Especially Joy.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what character she identified with that, or like, was it enamored with that did not make the credit roll.
I'm trying to remember.
Was it Star-Lord? Gamora?
It might have been Star-Lord. But yeah.
That was the Peter Parker death. A good chunk of that was improvised by Tom Holland.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, the entire I Don't Want to Go.
Yeah. He had just watched Doctor Who with David Tennant.
Yeah, that's the most heartbreaking scene for me from that. But,
it was the scene that 100% turned me around on Tenet. Oddly
last scene.
Well, Day of the Doctor.
Nobody watched that. That's not even a real thing.
Actually, Chris made it 3D.
Yeah, well,
I don't know anything about Doctor Who, so
yeah.
Well,
for me.
For me, the most emotional scene was when, like, Thor, like, you start to see the cracks in Thor's bravado when he's, like, talking to Rocket Raccoon, and you realize, like, oh, yeah, in the span of, like, 7 years, this dude's lost just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's just, like...
And he's not a dick about it.
Yeah, and he's just, like... I like that it's still, like, Ragnarok Thor. He's still, like, hyper... Like, he's still talking fast, and he still, like, jokes.
Apparently, they had to rewrite it to like kind of flow better with Ragnarok, because originally it was more of the more stoic, just like I am a Viking, God
Thor, of Thunder,
from like the first
Thor, God of Hammers, which is still one of my favorite lines of all time from Ragnarok.
The just the line where he's just like he's talking about how he's gonna like kick Thanos' ass, and Rock is just like, but what if you're wrong? And he's like, but you finally get that moment where he's just like, well, if I'm wrong, what more could I lose? And that's the where he wipes the tear away.
It could kill you.
The entire universe. You could lose the universe, man. No, the theater was like silent during that part. Like, that was one of the few times you could fucking hear like the AC like rumbling in the background, because like people are like, oh shit, the dude has lost everything. Yeah. And he doesn't wear it on his shoulder, he doesn't fucking, he just keeps moving forward, Frank Castle.
He was not in the movie.
Well, no, because like you just imagine Frank Castle in the background. He's like, "But my family died at a picnic," and like I think there was
it's my whole driving force.
It's my whole shit.
I'm nothing without it.
Well, I forgot there was like some
I'm
comic.
Nothing without the lack of my family.
I don't know if it was Sam telling me about it or something else. Where there was a comic where like he's like, my family's dead, and like Daredevil's like, dude, all of us have lost people, dude. Chill the fuck out.
Yeah. If you think about it, that is like just the cheapest fucking...
Well, like I said, the more you dive into the psycho-ness of Frank Castle, you realize that's just an excuse.
Yeah.
Just an excuse that he uses.
Yeah.
So, but he's not in the movie, unfortunately. Because he would have shot Vision in the head immediately and be like, he's a computer.
A
robot.
Yeah, going back to Hell's Kitchen. Bye.
Yeah.
I had no idea that Peter Dinklage was going to be in the movie.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
He's got my favorite line in it, or my favorite joke.
Yeah. Yeah, could kill you?
Yeah.
Only if I die. Well, yes, that's what killing is. Or something along those lines.
That's what killing you means.
Yeah. That was wonderful. Josh was sitting next to friend of the show, Josh. He was sitting next to me.
The Resident Evil.
Yeah. Who's the actor? The face
Richard
actor?
Crenna.
Yeah, the Richard Crenna of podcasting.
That is the
Josh.
It's not even a deep cut because it makes no sense unless you sat here when we came up with that.
Nothing we do makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even know what we're doing here. I just hit record and walk away.
Yeah.
But stay here.
It's a metaphorical walk away.
But he was like, yeah, my mind walks away. He was like, oh, they announced that he was going to be the voice of one of Thanos' kids. Sam knows their names.
The Black Order.
Sure. They, as far as I can remember, they weren't named in the movie, so that's where my knowledge of anything ends. Because I don't know them in the comics.
The Black Order.
They're the Black Order. He was. It was announced, I guess, on his spoiler forums that that's who Peter Dinklage was going to be. But then he comes out as a giant dwarf, and I was like, yes.
I wonder what that casting meeting was like. It's like, Peter, we need you to play a dwarf. But you'll be like a giant dwarf. Go on. Another funny moment
it's
is
like half typecasting.
Yeah. No pun intended. Another funny moment.
To confirm, no.
Yeah. when Mantis goes, we're here to kick names and take ass, and it cuts back to Tony Stark, and there's just that facial expression where he's just like, we're gonna lose. Like the camera just stays on him for a moment where he's just clearly at a loss for words. Like, now, how many times have you guys seen it? Just the once?
Just the once, yeah. I need to find time to see it again.
I enjoyed it more the second time because I could calibrate my expectations accordingly. Because I remember walking out of the first one, I was like, I kind of wish this character got more. This character got more.
Yeah, I mean,
like they're spinning so many plates.
That's a good point.
I kind of wish that Tony Stark had died. Not wishing any ill will on Tony Stark, but I felt that it was a good character evolution. But the implication being that that's literally the one way that the Avengers could win is to ensure that Tony survives, and thus Doctor Strange giving up his time Jim, whatever, the Rock.
Jim Halpert.
Yeah, giving up his necklace, so that Thanos could fully realize his plan, and then that being the thing that is able to whatever, dominoes down the road, they're able to stop it, or not stop it, but reverse the effects in some facet. Yeah.
Weird fingers. But yeah, man.
Beard bros.
My dumbass, every time, when I saw this movie, I was like, speak for yourself. I was like, and this has nothing to do with the movies. This is not the movie's fault at all. It's always my fucking fault when I go see these movies, and I know in the back of my,
your heart of hearts.
In my heart of hearts, I knew three things weren't going to happen: Adam Warlock, Silver Surfer, and Beta Ray Bill.
The Thing.
Beta Ray Bill. Those were the three
Man-Thing
that I knew were not going to be in the movie at all. I knew it, but every minute of every second of that movie, I was like, maybe Adam Warlock's going to show up. It makes no sense. And then Stormbreaker, I was like, maybe this motherfucker will. Maybe Beta Ray Bill will, because they have his head in Thor Ragnarok, which means nothing. And then they make Stormbreaker, and I was like, maybe the horse will show up. That'd be so fucking badass. But no, he's not in it. Red Skull is.
Yeah, that was exciting.
I did audibly say, oh shit, out loud.
I did have a because I was at the Alamo.
The Body Snatchers moment.
Yeah. I went, oh shit.
I feel like the biggest audience reaction, now that I'm thinking about it, may have been when Thor shows up. Everybody seemed really happy when
people
Thor...
were like, fuck yeah, fuck. People clapped for a long time when Spidey was knighted as an Avenger, too.
Nice. That was cute.
I just had Ken shitting himself again next to me.
Yeah.
Bricks. Speaking of Thor showing up, how disappointed was anyone else? Because I know I was, that Immigrant Song didn't kick in.
Oh.
Just me? Okay, that's fine.
Oh.
Now I'm disappointed.
Oh.
No, it should have been.
I want that to be the new Thor's theme.
Yeah. It should have been Stormbringer by Deep Purple.
It could have been that.
Stormbringer coming. Even though it's Stormbreaker, I know, but
but he doesn't break the storm until he hits Thanos.
You gotta know what you need.
Otherwise, it's the storm is being Baratin.
And then in the
And then it's
background,
front.
they're like, is that Richie Blackmore? And Richie Blackmore's like shredding on a fucking the Who. They bring the Who, Deep Purple, and Judas Priest together, and they're just like, and they just smash it.
Imagine
the power of rock.
Imagine a Thor scene set to Painkiller.
Oh, this. Yeah, or
to
the Ripper.
Kanye.
No, I was I've been referencing it so much recently, and now I've just blanked on it. The Judas Priest song that is the least metal.
Turbo. Oh my God! Someone needs to cut that where it's like,
I'm your turbo lover.
But people have been doing that where like they've been putting in different music over that Thor scene. Could you, just imagine. And Rob Halford's in the background. I'm your turbo lover.
Still cuts to the skeleton for some reason.
Yeah.
There's and it's not even like with Hulk's head or anything. It's just the straight video from the music video.
God, I'm just thinking like just all like the
that was their follow up
of
to
Judas Priest.
I think that was their follow up to Screaming for Vengeance too. That album,
Painkiller.
No, Turbo Lover.
Oh,
because Painkiller comes out in 90.
Yeah,
Screaming for Vengeance is like 83, 84.
You know what my favorite Judas Priest album is?
British Steel.
Turbo Lover.
No, it's the most metal cover too. It's Sad Wings of Destiny, which
I still love Hellbent for Leather.
Hellbent for leather. Yeah. Yeah, just cut it all to Judas Priest or The Trooper by Maiden. You take my life, but I'll take his too. And just fucking slices the head off. And you're like, oh shit, this movie got dark and just blood spraying everywhere. Wolverine pops out of nowhere. You're like, I guess he's in the movie now. And just snicking people. Stick. And like he's just getting stabbed left and right. And all of a sudden you hear
killing a dude with a cheesecake.
All of a sudden you hear and you're like, what the fuck? Is that a 50 cal? And then it's fucking
Again, it never makes sense.
Punisher and a 50 cal like on top of Wakanda. He's like, that's right, we're here.
Got you, Red.
You're like, oh fuck. And then you hear you're like, wait, is Judas Priest in this? And it's fucking Johnny Blaze. Just going around like the hellfire.
Nick Cage though.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen the Teen Titans Go trailer with him as Superman?
No.
Dude, that trailer sold the shit out of me. I'm going to see that movie. First of all, they have the font of Batman 89 in the beginning. Oh. And I was like, done. Second, they called Deathstroke Deadpool. And he's like, no. If anything, they should call Deadpool Deathstroke because I came before. And they're like, no, dude, you're Deadpool. And then he has this great moment. He's like, I am Slade. And he's like the whole animation changes where he's like this like big bodybuilder flexing guy. And I think it's Will Arnett doing Deadpool. But it looks really fucking Deathstroke. But it's really I do it all the time. But it looks really fucking funny. And I don't remember why we started talking about it.
Because you started throwing in all the different characters into this movie.
Yeah, you were getting like super excited.
Superman.
Your turbo lover.
No, you get to hear Nick Cage's Superman.
Nice.
And he's like, Titans. He calls them Titans. Titans. It sounds very good, yeah.
I hear good things.
I will totally see that movie. Like, I totally sold me. It looks really fucking funny. And like heartwarming and cute.
A week and a half after this thing posts, Deadpool 2.
Hell yes.
I'm waving my arms excitedly.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the audio medium.
Again, you guys at home can't see us.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
None of it matters. But you know what does matter?
She-Hulk.
Okay, yeah, fair. That's fair.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say Proxima Centauri and It Will All Hurt,
Yes.
both out on June 13th
Yes.
by Farel Dalrymple. Check it out. Thanks again to Farel for coming on. Do you guys have anything to add before we let the kiddies at home go to bed?
Captain Marvel is supposed to be the strongest superhero in the MCU,
Yes.
according to Kevin Feige.
Until She-Hulk shows up.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the future.
And that was Captain Marvel's logo.
Yes.
I've been asked by a lot of people, and I'm like, I don't know anything about Captain Marvel, and I knew that was her logo.
Well, you're an intellectual. Hey, for everyone listening, like 5 years in the future, She-Hulk is everyone's favorite hero.
You heard it here first.
We knew about it now. That hallway fight in the Netflix series, dope. Set to Billy Joel.
Oh my god! If that actually happens, you're gonna be like, you're gonna know what it feels like to be.
Because I'm gonna be sitting next to you guys in the theater because they're having Netflix, and I'm gonna be dressed up as lawyer Jennifer Walters. Like, I knew it. Putting on the screen paint helm wasn't stupid. Yeah. Yeah. Billy Joel.
Saturday.
It's nights like tonight where I actually do wish we were a video podcast at times.
It's nights like tonight where I'm glad we aren't.
Well, I also like how I'm like Billy Joel, and you immediately launch into Elton John.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
That's what I do.
Good fucking stuff.
They're both.
I was gonna be Gorilla Man Edgerton.
Oh yeah.
From Sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw that movie.
The How You Know About Gorilla Man Taron Egerton.
I watched him sing it on YouTube.
Because
I like Taron Egerton. I remember,
except for in Robin Hood.
Well, that trailer looks like a mess. Sorry, Robin Hood, Mythos, and Taron Egerton, because I like both of those things very much. But
Eggs.
Oof.
Ooh. If they don't know, it's just me screaming eggs, but it's the show, so nobody gives a fuck.
No,
they're like, whatever. It's just Sam having another one of his strokes.
Yeah.
So much. Everything tastes like toast.
And smells like blue.
Yeah. So, thanks again.
Yes.
For listening to us and for coming on, man. It's been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake. Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
She-Hulk.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual Catching Up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.